When you're in an elevator and someone says something to you, what can you say? It's kind of an awkward situation. How can you handle that in English? Or what if you want to start the conversation? How can you do that in a way that's not super awkward? Because again, it's kind of an awkward situation. Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to teach you lots of useful, specific examples that you can use, phrases that you can use to make comments and ask questions so that it's not awkward, so that maybe you can get to know someone or at least have a pleasant little conversation when you're in the elevator. If you haven't done so already, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to see future videos. And now, let's get into the video. How do we respond if we're in the elevator, this small, awkward space, and someone says something? How dare they, first of all? How dare they? Somebody says something. How can we respond in a way that, well, allows us to maybe avoid further awkwardness, right? Or if we want to start a conversation, if you really want to, how can we do that in a natural way? It's tricky. It's not particularly easy, right? That's what we're going to spend a bit of time talking about. So first, let's talk about responding. What if someone, okay, you're in an elevator, set the scene. Someone says, and by the way, I did ask ChatGPT to help me with some visualizations here, so we'll take a look at a few of those. Here's what I would love for you to guess how the prompt that I use to get this image. Everyone looks very awkward in this situation. Okay, so you're in your apartment building. It's a big apartment building, and you don't know most people there, and you know you're in the building. You're going down to the ground floor, and someone in the elevator. It's one other person. They're the type of person they like to make comments. I think some people are very uncomfortable with silence, so they might say something. I'm personally very comfortable with silence. I'm happy to sit on the elevator. Well, stand on the elevator. And in the elevator, not on the elevator. What am I saying? I'm happy to stand in the elevator and say nothing. Very, very happy to do that. Okay, but someone is not comfortable with silence and they say, This snowstorm we're getting tonight is no joke. That means it's going to be very serious. Okay, so this is a weather-related comment. How can we deal with this? How can we handle this? Well, you might make a simple remark, and we'll talk about what that means if you make a very simple comment, but a few things you might say. So I've heard. It's a very sort of conversational, friendly sounding, but simple way to say, yeah, I know. But it's not rude. It's friendly. It's a little comment. What it doesn't do is continue the conversation, right? Now, you might add a little more detail. So they said there's a big snowstorm coming, and I add to that, biggest one of the year, apparently. So if I just say, so I've heard, the feeling of that is going to be something like, I know. Yep. And the connotation is I don't really want to have a further conversation. So it's a way to just say, interesting. But if you just say, like that could be awkward. That could be perceived as rude, right? Now, if you say biggest one of the year, apparently, then you're adding a little bit. Now, this might show, okay, let's do it. If you've got more to say, I'm here. I've got nothing else to do. I'm just staring at the elevator doors. So, okay. You might say, again, to add, right? I'm ready to do some shoveling. So again, it's just a comment. Does it mean anything? Yeah, it does mean something, but it doesn't mean much. It's basically saying, I heard what you said and I have been thinking about this as well. That's basically it, right? Now, again, similar to so I've heard, but just a one word or very quick comment would be absolutely. Yeah. That you can say to almost anything. So it might be perceived as, just, yeah, say something to get it over with, absolutely would be a good one. Can't wait might sound or might come across as somewhat sarcastic, and that would be okay as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong necessarily with being sarcastic. Okay. Now, what if you really want to engage? What if you want to have a legitimate conversation in this 45-second elevator ride? Okay. Ask a question, a simple one. You know, don't say, well, does the snowstorm, make you reflect on any major life decisions? Don't say anything like that. Keep it simple. Think they'll close the schools? It's highly contextual, right? It's related to the snowstorm. So you want to keep it context driven. You want to keep it relevant to what is actually being said. Now, notice I'm saying think they'll close the schools instead of do you think? That just sounds a little bit more casual, and some people like to do that. I like to use think instead of do you think, or want some instead of do you want some. It just sounds a little bit more, I don't know, friendly, a little bit more casual. What time is it supposed to hit? Now that is the storm. When is it going to arrive? That is getting the other person to provide more information. They may know, they may not know, but I want to know more information. Maybe I'll say, is it supposed to snow all night? I'm assuming they brought it up because they want to talk about it some more. I'm assuming they brought it up because they have some thoughts about it and they want to share those thoughts. So I'm now giving them an opportunity by asking a question directly about what's happening. Think they'll close the schools? Is it supposed to snow all night? Maybe I want to know the answer. Maybe not. Okay? So this is how we would handle, basically, when someone makes a comment or initiates a conversation. And again, we're talking about in the elevator, but it could be for other simple conversations as well, at a bus stop or something like that. Let's see. This one is so weird. Okay, so I searched, I did a prompt in Midjourney, and this is what I got. You would have thought that I might have said something like, Pixar-style skin peanut. I mean, this man in the elevator who looks like a peanut with shoes, but is made of skin and has hair buttons. You would have thought that I created a prompt for that, but I didn't. I think I just said Pixar-style awkward elevator conversation, and this is what I got. Deeply, deeply disturbing. I don't know what it is, and it gave me nightmares last night. Now, what if you want to start the conversation in the elevator? Okay, I don't know why. Some people like to do it. Who am I to criticize? I don't get it personally. I don't think I've ever started an elevator conversation. But again, that's my style. That is my personality type. That is the kind of person I am. I am perfectly happy to stare at the elevator doors. Not necessarily like this creepy skin peanut, but something like it, I suppose. So how can you start the conversation? Well, think about the snowstorm, right? You both live in that building. Someone wants to comment on it because it's relevant to both of you. This is at least better than just saying, how about this weather, which is the most generic one you could say, and I don't recommend that. So what you should do, if you're going to do it, is make a comment or perhaps ask a question, and we'll start with comments. What sort of comments? It should be context specific. So you want to think about, what is the thing that I could say that in some way we both share? We both work in this company. We both live in this building. We're both in this elevator. Maybe we're both wearing hats with the same sports team on them. Something, right? It could be a broader thing, like the whole building is very hot because the AC is broken. Well, that works. So how about this? Hopefully they fix the AC tomorrow. Hopefully they get the AC fixed tomorrow. It is so hot. Okay, well, we both share that because we're both in this building and this building is hot, right? Let's hope the rain holds off for a few hours. Now, what's the shared context there? Well, we're both leaving a building, or it looks like we're leaving a building because we're both going downstairs, perhaps. And assuming that we're both going outside, we both may have to deal with the rain that's supposed to happen. So that is about the weather, right? But it is more specific than just saying, how about this weather? Okay? Now, what if you don't have really a shared context and you just want to make a comment, right? If you say to someone who has an umbrella and a raincoat and a stocking cap and it just has a lot of gear on and a backpack with a bunch of stuff in it and water bottles, I might just make a comment just for fun. Looks like you're ready for anything. So if it snows, if you get tired, if you get thirsty, if you get hungry, this person, it seems like, has everything that they need with them. That might be a comment. And then they might point out, or they might notice the humor in that and then make sort of a self-deprecating remark that may or may not lead to a conversation. Again, just a comment. You want to be careful with these. You don't want to say, oh, your face looks weird, but making a little comment that's fairly innocent, that is observing something, is generally okay, right? Acceptable. Especially if it's a compliment, especially if it's authentic, right? If it's not, it's a little weird. But if you say, oh, those are really cool sandals. I like your sandals. In fact, this has been happening recently. My wife has a new pair of sandals, and people are saying, I really like your sandals all the time on the street, in shops, in elevators. It's happened at least 5 times. For some reason, people really like these sandals. I don't know what's so great about them, but people say, I really like your sandals. They might then have a short, little, small talk conversation. Where did you get them? Oh, thank you so much. And then there might be a follow-up conversation about the style or something, that is somehow related to fashion. Great. That's a good way to start. Noticing something, especially if it's a positive comment, right? Now, I could also ask questions. So I could make a comment, I could ask a question. How about, ready for the long weekend? Now, would I say that to someone I know or someone I don't know? You could say that to anybody if you at least maybe know enough about them that we're both going into the weekend and they might have plans, maybe, who knows? I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking. Ready for the long weekend? It's a fairly general question. It kind of functions like a comment, but it's potentially a decent conversation starter. To be a little more specific, have any exciting plans? Have any exciting weekend plans? Now, that could be a colleague, and I want to ask the question because I know that maybe we both work for the same company, but we've never really interacted before. And so I want to get to know you a little bit. It's good to know your colleagues. This might be an opportunity, right? So talking about what might be happening this weekend could be a good idea, right? Here's another one of the images that I came up with. I like this one better, although the guy is he's a little wide. I think my favorite one, besides the bizarre peanut character, is this one, just because I have no idea what's going on. So there's a man looking at a woman who looks kind of shy, and then suddenly out of nowhere there's just another woman looking up. Maybe she's standing on the other two and they fell down, and then another person in the third panel just saying, Mag? Followed by a completely different person just looking directly ahead with another person looking at them. It's bizarre. It's very, very strange. Anyway, how's your day been so far? That's fairly generic. That's almost as generic as how do you feel about this weather? Or how about this weather, right? It's very generic. You could use that for anybody. How's your day been so far? You see a delivery person going up in the elevator with 9 boxes, and you're going up too, and you can see that they're tired and they're very busy, and you want to just ask, hey, how's your day been going so far? How's your day been so far? That is a polite question. It may not lead to a conversation, but at least it's sort of a friendly little interaction, hypothetically. Again, you never know where these things are going to go. So what about someone familiar, someone you do know? The ones we just talked about, those questions could be used for anybody, generally. But what about someone familiar? Okay, heading home early today? I know something about this person. I know that generally they go home at 5 because we're colleagues. And now we're in the elevator and it's 3:30, so that's a little out of the ordinary. Okay, heading home early today? Yeah, I got an appointment, and then we could talk about that or other stuff, right? It's just a way to kick off possibly a short conversation. Is your commute getting any easier? I know that this person has a difficult commute. We've talked about it before we had a conversation. So for these, this is where you want to bring in your knowledge of the person, any limited interactions you've had before, whether you know them well or not, to then ask the question. So I know that you have to drive, or at least you used to have to drive, an hour and a half every single day to go home. And so that's 3 hours of driving per day. So, and I'm wondering, have things improved at all? You know, maybe the traffic is better now. Hopefully, maybe you're taking a different form of transportation. Okay, so we could talk about that. That's a good conversation starter. I know that you have kids, right? So I'll say, are the kids ready for summer? Maybe we're on friendly terms, familiar terms. You could say we're acquaintances. And this might not be a colleague. This might be someone, again, who lives in the building. I know they have some kids, and I might just make the comment that is relevant. Are the kids ready for summer? Because it's May, and summer is right around the corner. Okay, so we could talk about that. People tend to like to talk about their kids for whatever reason, right? So just a few ways to really get a conversation started. In general, what I would say is this. Whether you're responding to someone by making a little comment or asking a follow-up question, or you are making the comment, you probably want to avoid getting into too much depth or using, risky humor, because that can take a kind of strange, awkward situation to begin with and make it more. So if you're going to engage in an elevator conversation, my suggestion would be to keep it simple, right? If you want to start that conversation, use context, use simple questions or make simple comments, and, don't force an in-depth conversation. Don't hold them from leaving the elevator when the doors open. Let's keep talking about this. This is meant to just pass the time. It is a little interaction, and so just keep that in mind as you go into these situations. And this is also, as I said, relevant to being at a bus stop, any of these little situations where you could have a short conversation or you may skip it and just look directly ahead like I do. In either case, if you have any questions about this, let me know. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also, get a free course, Natural English Conversations, also about having conversations, starting conversations. That is in the links in the description.